I didn't know how I wanted to do this, but I thought I'd start with where it all started. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, these are the roots. I thought it would make the most sense to start where it all began. What if we get a Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 3? What does it look like to you? I'm not sure how long I'm going to go for this. I made a full giant roster of characters. Let's get everybody back into the game. No character cuts from the first game and the second game. Everybody can make the return. We don't have to worry about characters getting removed and being misplaced and not being represented. Let's get all the Nicktoons that we all grew up watching, no matter where you started, no matter what your first cartoon was or Nicktoons show is, wherever you stand and whatever your favorite characters are. Let's get that character in the game. Let's get some of these characters all into one big game where we don't have to keep starting over. Let's stop starting over. And that's something that I'm tired of seeing for some of these products, for some of these titles. You got all the potential in the world, and then you start over, you settle, you ghost the community, and then there's radio silence, and no one knows what's going on. We're playing this guessing game, and we just don't know what's happening with this product. So I thought I'd take it upon myself to create a roster that I think most, the majority of the people out there in the community might love to see. I'm not sure if they're going to get all these characters, but they can build it up to the point where they can have as many characters as possible from the NCU, from the Nickelodeon cartoon universe. I thought this would be the perfect game to have running in the background. I love playing both games. I'm still playing this game from time to time on the streams, and having fun doing character requests and creating movesets. What I like to do, even for characters that I don't know, I've gotten to know loads of different shows that I didn't even watch at the time, didn't even know about, like Kappa Mikey and Monster High. It goes on and on. Breadwinners that some people don't really like, Fanboy and Chum Chum, underrated shows like Robot and Monster. It goes on and on and on. And if you don't want to listen to the full video, I'm gonna have the full roster of characters, over 70 characters that these guys can definitely put together for one ultimate product, an ultimate brawl, the ultimate Nickelodeon crossover, with all these characters coming together with a great story. Let's get some of these characters that haven't even had a chance to get into this game. So just for starters, I just thought I'd start with the first game, and from the roots where it all began. We had what we had from this roster, and I'm just gonna head into the battle mode. I'm just gonna go through so many different things, and just let me know what you guys think for this live premiere. What does a Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 3 look like to you? I'm not sure about gameplay wise and its combat. I'm sure it's going to be another platform fighter, but what does it look like to you for as far as characters? These are, some people don't even remember this game. Some people actually didn't even play the first game, and they skipped out on it because of some of the characters. And then right when they were gonna get into the game, it was a little bit too late because Rocco was the end all be all. When I thought, I'm just gonna say it, I'm sure it was not just me, I thought it was gonna be more characters. I thought it was going to be more that this game was gonna have to offer. When they did it the right way. This is how you make a DLC pass. You don't come out with the same shows and you stack up from the same Fire Nation. It was just nothing but Fire Nation characters are what we got. Look at the title. This is why I put my name for this video too. Well, I don't know if we're gonna get a wave 2, but this is a whole what if scenario, and I put something together for a giant roster of characters that I think everybody will enjoy. You could check out the list in the description. You can go ahead and change out characters that you will probably replace. Let me know what you think. Maybe it's a certain character that you don't like in the roster, or in the roster that I created and came up with. I wanted to go from the past to the present, from some of these shows that need to get into this game, and where they don't have to keep on starting over. Well, the game came out and they'll leave it for dead, and there's nothing else to look forward to. There's no excitement, and it goes off to the shadow realm and it's dead in the water, and there's nothing left for the game, and there's no excitement, and it's limited to patches where there's no more content, there's no more characters or anything to look forward to whatsoever, and we gotta wait till the next game. Might as well wait till the next game, the next game, the next game. I don't want it to be like that, and I'm tired of seeing that for these products when there's untapped potential with these titles. It's untapped potential that's not being able to be unlocked, because once the DLC comes out, there's nothing else for the season pass. Once it ends, it's over. There's nothing else that's coming out, and it just fizzles out. And I don't want that happening. They don't need to keep starting over. I want to see more for All-Star Brawl 2, but this is just a whole what-if scenario. We don't know what's going to happen. So I created my own version of Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 3, not even just with characters, but things that they can do to build upon the game to make it bigger and better. And they have consistent content to keep everybody excited, to keep the community engaged, and so much more. So let me know what you guys think of this roster. But the first thing I want to start with, just to throw it out there really quickly before we get into the roster, I'm just gonna run through some of the characters and just different worlds that we have represented, and just touch upon each world if I can, in the mix of also guest characters that I put together, of some characters that might have a chance. They might have a slight chance to be able to get in, but it's not guaranteed. But it'll make sense to have them in as special guest characters to possibly get a chance to shine in this roster for the future for this title. So the one thing I wanted to do, I'm just gonna go ahead and let's just do a random match, and we're not gonna actually play against the characters or anything like that and play a match. Let's get our first. We'll start with our first and last. Or you know what? We miss Hugh Neutron anyway for the Hugh Nation out there. Let's pick him. But let's start with the stages really quickly before we run through everything else. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 3 does not only has to have most of the characters back, if not bringing back everybody from the first and second game. How about bringing back all the original stages? Let's get all the stages back into this game that everybody loved and missed. Some of the best stages and some of my personal favorites, if y'all interested in wondering what some of my favorite stages from the first game. I love Slime Time. Slime Time was one of my favorite stages of all time in the entire game. The music in this game never gets old. And the one thing that I want to say, let's get not only just the old and new characters, how about the old and new stages can all return with different variations? But we don't need stage variations with the platforms and things like that. Let's be able to go back into the past, and then also some of the newest stages, and they can also make a new revamped version of the stage. See how we got Flying Dutchman? The music from this game from this stage, for example, sounds completely different. So why not have anybody play Crash Nitro Fuel or CTR for Crash Nitro Fuel? See how there was an option to turn on and enable the legacy music? How about the legacy music? That could be something for starters for some of these stages. So when you play and you feel the urge of going back to the Loud House. I love listening to that song. I also love listening to the dump for the Real Monster stage, Catdog's house that never made it back. The original Hardcore Chorus. I love this soundtrack a little bit more than Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2's music. The original Gold song, people will argue, and a lot of people bring up Traffic Jam as with that jazz. It's just awesome to listen to every single song. Nothing against Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 soundtrack. I love that Chairman's Joyride new remix. That's one of my personal favorites. But we can bring back some of these stages and be able to play both of the old and the newer stages, or the newer versions of these stages, all into one, with the legacy music included, so we could be able to play both of them. So it'll be awesome to really see this all just put all together with Slime Time and all these stages to make its return. I would love to see every stage back. That's what it looks like to me. Let's get all the stages back where we could be able to play with the stages that we want, and we have more instead of having less, because those stage variations do not count in my book. They don't, because it's just the only difference. It's a triple platform, 3 platforms, a double platform, and a single platform, and then it's a flat surface that really completely removes the platforms out of the way, where it's something similar to like this, where it's a flat surface for competitive play. something like this with the Royalwood Cemetery, but they see how they took out and removed the tombstones. Those don't exist anymore. They don't pop out of the ground. So it's like a flat surface. Those are the different stage variations. We don't need those. We can have more new stages to get added into the game. So I wanted to start with the stages. Let's get all those stages coming back from both games, and then they can add more that didn't get into the game, like the Krusty Krab, for starters, that I wanted to see and that I thought was going to come out with Mr. Krabs. So I wanted to just get into the stages to talk about that for a little bit of an idea before we start talking about some of these characters and more that they can bring into the next game if we get one, if it gets to that point, if they choose to go that route. So the stages definitely need to all return. They didn't have to remove anything. You have more to offer. It's supposed to be bigger and better, but they took out a lot of stages. So I'm hoping that they put a lot of thought into bringing back what the fans want and just going back and being able to reminisce in this product if they end up coming out with an All-Star Brawl 2 or All-Star Brawl 3, something that they didn't do in the second game. So those are the stages and discussion as far as that goes, and I'm going to get into the modes and things like that in a little bit. But let's start sharing the roster of characters to run this through. I'm going to try to go through all of them and then just maybe some other particular picks that I want to just talk about in the mix. So the one thing I think I'll do, I want to turn down the music so it won't seem so loud. So I'll just bring it down to 10. But let's bring back that roster a little bit, and so y'all can be able to see, because some people probably haven't even, some people haven't even seen this game and haven't seen what the roster looked like from the original first game where it all started. So the roster of characters from this first game, I definitely wanted to bring back everybody. Of course, I'm not removing any characters from the first or second game if anyone's curious, but we definitely need more of the, just outside of just the SpongeBob and the Avatar characters. That's what they seemed like they were focused on. SpongeBob, Avatar The Last Airbender, and then also TMNT ended up getting most of the characters, but we didn't even have Leonardo and Mikey. We only had Raphael and Donatello, who isn't in this game. This was the first game that started the split where they didn't even include all 4 of the turtles, which is crazy. And it feels so weird without them, because we have 2 of the 4 turtles. We definitely need them all back for the next game if we get one. So from the first game, everybody's coming back. Everybody's going to come back. And then also, the one thing that was different when the second game came out, we didn't have him, but we do have Hugh Neutron. But he was part of the story. We lost so many different characters. We lost Sandy. We lost Toph, Lincoln Loud, Leonardo and Mikey. Shredder became a boss, which I knew he would probably be once they introduced his boss fights. They introduced the boss battles in on the trailer, things like that. Shredder became a boss. Powdered Toastman became an NPC, just like Hugh Neutron, to sell items, or a merchant more like, per se. Catdog got completely sent to the Shadow Realm, and then on top of that, joining him was Helga, but she became a background character. And then it was different for Oblina. Not many people watched Real Monsters and probably knew about this show. It feels bad just to see how they do Oblina. I hope I was hoping that she would have made it back, and I did something different with an additional rep alongside bringing her back. So I'm gonna get into that soon. And then Garfield made it back, and then Jenny, and then just as I mentioned, Hugh Neutron got completely turned into an NPC and no longer playable. So I'm just shocked that they did that. They worked so hard to put all that campaign together just for him to get treated dirty, and he gets sent to become an NPC. He should have been playable with Jimmy Neutron. It would have been awesome to at least have that be something that can automatically get him back in. All that campaign happened for what? Just for him to only be playable in the first game and not make it into the second? To become playable at least. But just getting into the roster and just talking about the Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, this first DLC, we only had 3 characters. I thought there would be more, but I brought them back and added them in, just running through it a little bit so I'm not dragging on. So this game capped off at 25 characters, stopping at Rocco. It was 25 characters at this point, so they didn't have to stop there. They had a great game with this, with so many missing shows that could have been added, and they could have been 3 or 4 more characters in per pack. They could have made more, because originally these were called the Universe Packs. The Universe Pack was Jenny, Hugh Neutron, and Rocco all showing off at once. They could have did way more. So when the second game came out, the newcomers I have listed here who never got in part 1 that people wanted to see, for example, front of my list, Squidward, Plankton, LT Gray, Jimmy Neutron, the Angry Beavers Daggett and Norbert, Azula coming in from the Fire Nation, Raphael and Donatello ended up getting in as the new turtles, the 2 newest playable turtles. And then we got Ember. We got Ember from Danny Phantom, which was awesome to see. And then we had Grandma Gertie, which was a crazy surprise. I didn't think she was going to be in the game, outside of the Elites, of course. And then Gerald got in from Hey Arnold. So those are all the newcomers who are basically the newcomers that were added into Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl for the series, for the sequel that got revealed. And everybody started to find out some of the characters that weren't in, and then when all the certain characters were missing and came up missing and weren't spotted, and they knew the cuts were out, especially with the roster being revealed very early. So those are all the newcomers. I just wanted to list it just to run y'all through it and just go in order from everything that happened. So those are all the newcomers from Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 that got in and got added with the roster changes. So the DLC was 4 characters. For Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, we had Mr. Krabs, Zuko, Rocksteady, and then Iroh. So with those other characters and taking away those characters I just mentioned that they got cut, Lincoln Lau, Sandy, Leonardo and Mikey, Shredder, Powder Toast Man, Hugh Neutron, Catdog, Helga, Oblina, it's a lot. That's quite a lot of cuts and different roster changes, but those characters got in those character spots. So bringing back all those characters from the first game and the second game, we're now at 40 characters. So let's start talking about other characters that can finally get in. All new shows and additional reps that are solo reps, like Garfield from the second game, for example, who was solo. Zim was a solo rep, and then Lucy Lau, which is insane, which was really surprising. Lincoln Lau wasn't even a playable character. He was in the background, and he still is. I don't even know if he's ever going to come back in. But we had Lucy Lau as the only solo Loud House rep, so I did something a little bit different to stack up a little bit to get another Loud House sister rep added into this game. So we're going to run through them all with different things that I did to this roster and some of my personal picks that I think some people out there will really enjoy. And you can also chime in as well if you want to really take a look. So we're sitting at 40 characters right now with Iroh, and we don't worry about the cuts. Don't even think about anybody getting cut. Everybody's back from the first and the second game, all together. So we at 40 characters now because Iroh already came out. So we got 40 characters now. So let's start talking about the new shows that can get into the game and all new reps that people want to see. And I wanted to start with my all-time favorite and one of my number one picks, Fairly Odd Parents. So I picked quite a few Fairly Odd Parents picks that I think not only myself but other people will probably like and want to see. So I went with Timmy Turner with Cosmo and Wanda as the 41st for 41. So we getting all these new shows that the developers can get into. And even if, let me just say this now since I wanted to get him out of the way right now, even if it takes a little bit longer to get some of these characters, they got all the different worlds in the MCU to go after and get access to that are a little bit easier while they settle negotiations with trying to get Timmy Turner into the game. So I don't know the story about the tennis game and things like that, because some people are saying all they did was get legal permission to get Timmy Turner in that tennis game, that mobile game. That was it. But Timmy Turner hasn't had a game since the PS2 era. We up in the PS5 modern next generation of gaming, next generation of gaming, we still haven't gotten any games that's on the console that have him in these titles. So I think Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 3 can finally be the game he can possibly get in by chance. Maybe it might be different. Hazel Wells might get in and beat him. But Hazel is a great character too, so I wouldn't mind either one. But Timmy Turner definitely has to get into the game. So some more Fairly Odd Parents reps. I went with Mr. Crocker, and then a little powerhouse, Georgian Von Strangle, the strongest fairy in the fairy world, and then Timmy's hero himself from the comics, Crimson Chin. Here comes the Crimson Chin. I added him, and then one more rep for Fairly Odd Parents. So this is like 45 characters. Now I went with Vicky, Icky Vicky. Anybody remember? I almost wanted to add Chip Skylark, but I didn't want to just keep on stacking up with Fairly Odd Parents characters. But those are some really good picks, and I think a lot of people are really like them, so I put them in. So let's move on to some new shows. Let's start talking about Tough Puppy. I added Dudley Puppy and Kitty Caswell for the 2 reps to represent that show for all new shows. And then Jenny being a solo rep. Some of these are going to probably be all over the place or maybe out of order. Because that's why I put this list for new shows and additional reps. Because some of these shows only have solo or individual characters to represent their show. Like Jenny or SJ9, for example. So I wanted to pull one more character from her show, the iconic villain, Vexes. These games, something that I want to say, some people, these games lack villains and they don't have enough antagonist characters. It's too many protagonist characters, and you'll probably end up picking that up from my list because majority of these characters, they are protagonists and heroes are the main characters that take place in these stories. So I went and wanted to grab Vexes as an iconic villain to be able to beef up this roster for a new title. And then thinking about the world of Invader Zim, I went with Dib. And then Garfield's world, John Arbuckle. They could get Odie, but I slipped in John Arbuckle as a great pick. And then see how Rocco has been solo. He's been a solo rep since the first game as well. How about another Rocco's Modern Life character like Ed and Bev Big Head? Maybe they can even do really, really big man. Some people brought up Heifer, but I went with Ed and Bev Big Head. Maybe just something a little bit different for this roster. Let's start talking a little bit about the Loud House a little bit. Of course, we already got Lincoln Loud because we already got everybody back. So we're at 51 characters, but I'm just putting Ed and Bev Big Head together as a duo. So if you probably want to count them individually, since I will like them to fight as a duo and play as a duo, Ed and Bev Big Head, you can count those two, but I'm just putting them together as a duo like Ren and Stimpy. But a little bit about the Loud House. The Loud House has a good amount of characters that people can really pick. I haven't seen all of the shows or all the episodes, but I've gotten to know all the different Loud siblings. Lincoln Loud and Lucy Loud are already going to be back, just per se for this what if scenario. They're already back in. What's some of the Loud House siblings that y'all would put together for, or what would be a Loud House pick? Would you pick 2 or maybe just one additional one for 3 characters? So for one of my picks, the pick that I went with Luann Loud, the prankster herself, who loves to joke around and play. She would definitely be a force to be reckoned with on the field by herself. Luann Loud for number 52. Some people might want to see Lenny, Lana, Lola. It goes hand in hand with some of the characters that they have. The Loud House has a stack and a good amount of options that they can add. Because there's just one giant family. It's 10 sisters. He's the only brother in the Loud House of the family of the Louds. So it's like multiple picks that can get into this game. So I went with Luann Loud as an ideal pick that I think would fit this roster. They can get the other ones too. They can get more than one Loud House additional rep to stack up. Some people might say Clyde, which is fine too, but the more the better. Clyde's been in the Nickelodeon Kart Racers games 2 and 3, so that I wouldn't be surprised if they end up picking him as well to get him onto the battlefield. Now, I'm curious about this. I added Arnold Shortman or Arnold in the game. And some people think he'll never get into the game. Some people think he won't be playable. How did he become a playable character in Nickelodeon Kart Racers? And if his head was too big, maybe it's a whole different scenario when you try to develop him and program him on the battlefield. It could be something different. But I think he'll be a lot of fun to play. Helga got in. She can have unique interactions with Arnold and team up. His best friend got in before he did. Gerald is awesome and a lot of fun to play in the sequel. It's only Gerald and Grandma Gertie to represent Hey Arnold, but they missing one. And it's an iconic pet that developers can definitely try to get and implement to be a playable character. Jimmy Neutron, see, Hugh Neutron is by himself in this, but he's an NPC, so we got both of them back just in this scenario. But now, Cindy Vortex is so powerful. She knows the martial arts. She's a real fighter, just like Sandy. She's really good at combat. She saved Jimmy's life. She saved Jimmy a few times. She even saved him and protected him. So just all the fighter potential with Cindy Vortex. She definitely deserves to be in the game. So I went ahead and added her as another additional Jimmy Neutron rep. Jimmy and Cindy and Hugh can represent Jimmy Neutron. Maybe some of y'all can bring up Sheen and Carl. I wouldn't be against those other characters as well, and some of those iconic villains that can definitely get in. So I did bring up another one too later on that y'all end up finding out. Now, Rugrats is by itself. Reptar has been in the game by himself, another solo rep. So we're just stacking up on different shows that hasn't really had that many characters that are solo reps. Some people might go with Tommy, but I went with Angelica because this seems like an ideal fit. I know Tommy was, someone said or heard from you guys, because I didn't even get a chance to play those games. Super Brawl, I think it was. I went with Angelica for my pick for a new additional Rugrats rep. Some people said Tommy was a playable character. I don't know how he played, and I don't know what he was capable of, but I went with Angelica, so I think this will probably be something that she can really be able to throw down in. Danny Phantom has some really good characters, a lot of great, memorable characters, but I wanted to give Vlad Plasmius him, so I was personally disappointed to see him not be a secret playable unlockable character in Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. He's only fit for the story, and he seems to be stuck in the story in the single player campaign, and because he's the one pulling the strings, and it's a little bit more to the campaign that I really enjoy to the story for as far as Vlad Plasmius' schemes and his plans. So Vlad Plasmius, I definitely added into this roster for this game. That's ideal. He deserves to be a playable fighter, to be able to get his rematch and go head to head with Danny Phantom to really settle the score. Now, let's start just with these next picks for a little bit. The rest of these picks that I'm gonna go through, these are all new shows since we just finished talking about, some other additional reps that they can get in. And then going towards the end, I added some villains that I wanted to add in because I noticed that the roster didn't really have too many villains. But now for the next selection of picks that I'm just going to run through, these are all new shows that I think can really have a really good chance of getting into this game for a new title. A Nick pick, and when I say this, Nickelodeon will probably want to see Rock, Paper, Scissors get involved into this game. Rock, Paper, Scissors is such a great show. It's successful. It's doing really well. A lot of people are watching it, and I'm enjoying it. And I even made a moveset of how I think they could play Rock, Paper, Scissors to play together as a trio to switch between the three characters that are unique in their own way. Rock, Paper, Scissors I added into this roster for something new. We need something different outside of SpongeBob. So Rock, Paper, Scissors, an underrated show as told by Ginger. I went with Ginger Froutley, Otis the Cow, Rocket Powers, Otto Rocket, and Reggie Rocket. They haven't been seen in the game since that Nickelodeon Party Blast game. So I added them into this game for representation. I always wanted to see Rock, Paper, Scissors. I always wanted to see Rocket Power get some kind of representation. Where are these characters? They should have been in this game, and they should be ideal characters that the developers can try to aim for that they can definitely have a chance to get. Otto and Reggie Rocket from Rocket Power. Some additional shows, something that I personally enjoyed that I think is funny. Fanboy and Chum Chum, another duo. Two, it's like here's like three different multiple duos. Fanboy and Chum Chum, Robot and Monster, Sway Sway and Badus from Breadwinners. We need some more duos. We had Catdog, we got Catdog and Ren Stimpy, and then we already got the Angry Beavers. How about some more duos and trios to get in to really start, causing some ruckus on the battlefield? So I did Sway Sway and Badus from Breadwinners, Sanjay and Craig. Another great underrated show from Mighty B. I went for Bessie Hickabout. I was gonna do Vendetta. I didn't know which one I wanted to do, so I went with Bessie from Mighty B over Vendetta. So people might not like that, but it's just so many different characters. They can come out as DLC. We're gonna get into that. So I went with Bessie Hickabout, Mikey Simon from Cap on Mikey, Cat Scratches, Mr. Blit, Waffle and Gordon for 68, and then Tack. Imagine Tack gets into this game. A lot of people are definitely go crazy. And then kicking it old school from what I like. I don't see many people talk about this show. We're at 70 characters now. I'm just counting the duo. I'm not thinking about the individuals like Fanboy and Chon Chon. Like, that's two different characters because they're two different names. They're just duos, and because they're coming into the game together to fight together as a duo. So for the 70, we have 70 characters. Henry and June from Kablam. Anybody watch that show? No one talks about that show, and that show was around during this time for Ren Stimpy and Catdog from the old school Nicktoons days. I would love to see Kablam, maybe even as a stage. Even if they don't become playable characters, it would be nice to be able to battle in those different worlds of Kablam. And then I don't know what's going on. I don't know how they'll probably pull this off. I went with Glitch Text, Miko. They can do 5 and all the other characters that they want to for additional future characters to get in, so she's not a solo rep for Glitch Text. That's on Netflix now, so I'm not sure how they're gonna pull that off. And then Chalk Zone, another favorite of mine. Who's got the chalk? I went with Snap and Rudy. I separated Snap for 72, and then 73 I went with Rudy Tabuti as his own individual character because Snap can fight by himself. He doesn't need to be a duo with Rudy. Me personally, Snap can be separate from Rudy because Rudy has the chalk and he has creativity with all the potential and unpredictability with being able to create and draw something. And he's like, Rudy, you gotta draw something. It's just iconic. They can fight together though. Rudy and Snap can be a duo, but I separated them for separate characters because I know Snap can have his own fighter potential with his own abilities and unique techniques of what he can do. So Snap and Rudy separate, and then another Nickelodeon pick that they'll probably be interested in trying to push, Big Nate. I know some people out there, even someone out there in particular, want to see. He's been asking for Big Nate for so long, so I wanted to put him in this roster, not just for him, but just because I like the show. And Big Nate would be a lot of fun too, and he can be able to match up with. I would love to see Big Nate go head to head against Luan Lau because they love to play tricks on each other and do these pranks in these different schemes. It'll be awesome to see Big Nate against Luan Lau, two different pranksters and tricksters that like to play. So, and I almost left this out, and just some other ones because I started on thinking about some other villains. Professor Calamitous for something different to stack up with an iconic villain from Jimmy Neutron, who I would love to see be a playable character. Professor Calamitous, and then some additional shows to match to add in. Harvey Beats, and then some additional reps because we started just going on, just wrapping this up for this roster at least. I wanted to just add in an additional rep like Ickis can join in with Oblina. I don't think Crumb is going to be a playable character. I don't think it's possible because he has to keep his eyes in position. That's sad. But as much as I would love to see him playable, but he can probably be like a backup or someone that they can summon between Oblina and Ickis for new moves. So I went with Ickis to be able to get an additional rep. And then another iconic villain, how about Doodle Bob? He's in that background at Timeless Start Out stage. So I think he'll definitely belong and be able to get into the game with that magic pencil, Doodle Bob. And then the Casa Grandes, I think, has a really good chance of being able to get in. I went with Link Loud's, one of Link Loud's best friends, and he was really close with Ronnie Ann. So I went with Ronnie Ann as just to finish this roster for the final character. I went with Bunsen. I don't see many people talk about him as well. So those are all the characters, like over 70 characters that they can add into this game. But I didn't want to just settle for just the characters. Let me know what y'all think about the roster. I just want to just go through different worlds. And notice how I didn't really add any other additional Avatar, The Last Airbender characters, because I think we already got enough. Because Zuko gonna make it back. We gonna have Aang, Toph, Zuko, and Azula, and then Iroh. That's 5 characters. We got 5 characters, and we got 3 characters. 3 of the Avatar characters from Avatar Last Airbender represent the Fire Nation. It doesn't have to be that way. They could definitely think about the Water Tribe, you know, things like that. It could have been a lot of other characters. They can even get a different character from the Legend of Korra, like Amon and many others that people might want to see, Asami, things like that. But we don't need all these Fire Nation characters taking up the roster. It should have just been Aang, Zuko, Toph, and then maybe just with that, Azula is powerful. That's more than enough. Having a brother and sister, we got Zuko's whole family up in the game, basically. So we got to get more characters, and that's why I wanted to change this whole roster around, bringing everybody back from the first game, the second game, and then adding more to it, which is exactly what I wish they did from the second game. No character cuts, just keep everybody that you have and build up on it. Sure, it probably won't, I'm just saying now, maybe it's probably not going to cap off, the base roster not going to be this way, but you can unlock all these characters, and some of these characters can get in later as DLC. Maybe some of you guys will probably change it. Maybe the base roster probably won't be as big. But games like Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3 have 42 playable characters. That exceeds the playable characters from this game and the second game. So if Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3 have 42 characters, what's stopping them to getting more above and beyond? And those are just the playable racers. Think about, that's excluding the crew members that you unlock. It almost caps up to this kind of roster that I just built and created to name these characters with this list to put into this ideal game if it does come out later on in the future. They can definitely get these many characters with the NCU, and some characters that might take a little bit longer, they can just worry about them down the road. But just to talk about this a little bit more for the future content and different things that they can make and changes, we're going to get into the modes. I want to start with the modes, and then we'll just finish with the guest characters and things like that, and then I'll probably say some additional things to close out. But let me know what y'all think about that roster. That's just the base roster. That's over 70 characters that can be unlocked, and then they can do a nice story, different requirements to unlock the characters and things like that. Let's get everything back from the mode, from the original first game, like the sports mode. That's completely gone. The time battles and stocks, that's just obviously going to be in there. But the sports mode was a lot of fun because you could play with the different types. Yeah, football, Tommy ball, yarn ball. I liked using the plankton ball because it was a lot more difficult to try to throw into the goal, and the AI would really try to stop you from scoring in the 2v2s. This was definitely one of my favorite modes. I don't think enough people played the sports mode. Some people probably don't even remember the sports mode. The sports mode is something that can probably make its return. Let's get all this stuff back, and it can be online sports, because this is only available offline. That's something else that was a big takeaway from this game. Why isn't the sports playable online? The sports mode isn't really playable online. It's just all about the stocks and just trying to survive and get the most knockouts and get the most points. The sports mode should be able to return. Let's bring all those modes back so we'll be able to play and have everything back. And then we need more mini games. outside just breaking the targets, popping the balloons, which was similar to breaking the targets. More mini games for us to be able to get into, and it can be cooperative, so you can play with friends offline, online, and be able to go through the story mode together with someone and with friends to make it for a bigger challenge and more rewards. They can do that. To do that, they can do stuff like that, and they'll lot some of these characters behind completing those challenges. Not online wins, but just challenges. We need this mode back. It was a lot of fun. Me personally, I don't know how you guys feel about the sports mode. It needs to make it back and make its return. I want them to bring that back. Bring those mini games back. Let's beef up some of these modes, and then all the modes that we have already with the gauntlet and things like that, similar to All-Star mode already. We can have all those modes come back and make their return. That's something I want to see. Let's get everything back, and we'll have a much bigger product with more features where you can be able to play online and be able to do these modes and participate cooperatively to unlock rewards. And just to close this out and finish, let's start talking a little bit about some of the guest characters. I didn't want to pick too many because some of these guest characters, I'm gonna just throw random characters out there. I wanted to pick some of the characters that make the most sense of having a possible chance of getting into this game. DLC guest characters that could fit and that have a good chance. So I went with Po from Kung Fu Panda, Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie version from Paramount. I don't know if he's going to get in. It's just ideal guest characters that they can probably try to go for and try to pitch for. Inspector Gadget. And then someone like a bigger character, way bigger than Reptar, Optimus Prime. Because Nickelodeon has their own Transformers series. Transformers Earthspark, I believe it was called. Correct me if I'm wrong. They got Optimus Prime they can go for. Some of those the Autobots and some of the Decepticons, they could probably get both of them in. But Optimus Prime seems like a good ideal character for a guest character. I was gonna put Shrek, and maybe some people would probably throw out Skipper Penguin from DreamWorks. That could also work. So I put him in there. So Skipper, Po, Sonic the Hedgehog, Inspector Gadget, Optimus Prime. Just a couple picks. Those are just some of the guest characters I went with. Could be Rango, if anything, if possible. But I'm not sure if they're going to probably even be able to get some of those third-party characters. Third-party characters that can definitely be able to get in. They can probably get one or two, and they can open up those doors. I don't know about Goku getting into this game. I don't know. Dragon Ball Z Kai, I remember that. I watched that. It's completely different from the original OG from Toonami. But that's going to be tough and just trying to get him. So I just think Po, Sonic the Hedgehog, just realistically, Po from Kung Fu Panda, maybe someone from like Skipper Penguin might be able to get one of the penguins. Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie version, Inspector Gadget, and Optimus Prime. I think those are the most ideal, realistic guest characters that could probably be in this game. Maybe Shrek. That can possibly get into this game. I'm not sure if they're going to get DLC with third-party characters. They don't need third-party characters, but it'll be something that'll be nice to expand. Maybe even a live-action character that can get in. Henry Danger, Keenan and Kel. I would love to see the Krushkin, the psychic magician from the 90s. Live-action characters take a little bit longer, but it still seems ideal for him to get in as some of those other characters for guest DLC. Maybe you can change it up. You can change it up and add on to it. You can replace some of the characters if you want from my guest list for guest characters that can fit. I just wanted to pick some of the best ones that I think they will have a better chance of getting access to. But it's a big question. Are we going to be able to get some of these characters? Is it going to be one? But this is something that I created just to try to bring everybody back. Everyone deserves to be able to come back from these games. We don't need character cuts. You can have a better product. We can have everything else back into the game with all the modes and then some. The online, we gotta get some more modes, and the arcade is fun to play, and you can see the replays. I don't even think they have this in the second game. I think didn't they disable replays. You can't even save your own replays. That could be some things that can be able to make its return. You got things that's missing features like that needs to be able to get into the game. It'll keep people active for the online. It'll have people being able to get excited, and they'll have access to different things. Co-op arcade, because you can't play that online. You see, it's all about the little things that they change, things that can really make it better. Play the arcade together. You can play the story online co-op, and invite your friends to go to the arcade and unlock the rewards and some of the characters together, just in case you have someone that's having trouble, that's not able to survive and stay alive long enough. You can go through the campaign together in the arcade and play together to get some of these unlockables. They can almost make it something like how they did with kart racers, but not with online wins, of course, but just being able to play the game, be actively playing, and to be able to unlock some of those characters. And then as the updates come out, let's start thinking about the future real quick to close this out. Let's get some communication for this game. We got to get some communication for the game so we know what's going on. We don't ghost everybody where every single character. That's something that bothered me about All-Star Brawl 2 with this season's first wave. I'm not sure if it's going to be another one. I'm not sure. I hope it's more. But the one thing that bothered me was just like, Mr. Krabs came out, they disappeared. Zuko came out, they're gone into the shadows, and we're left in the dark. And then Rocksteady came out. He should have just came out with Bebop. Still lost with that. They disappeared with that, and then here we are. Iroh came out, and now we just waiting for something. We're just constantly waiting for something to try to come out and try to hear from these guys to find out what's going on. People are not going to want to wait, and that's why I think this is an ideal product where you can just be able to bring everything back. This game deserves a lot more. We don't need a third game. Personally, I don't want to see another one, but I wanted to create one of my own of what I think it could look like, bigger and better with all the characters that people want to see for this title. We gotta get some communication so we can be able to stay in the light. When you disappear like that and then things don't get fixed and resolved, people move on and it loses its momentum. It's not gonna be able to fly. The product's not gonna be able to flourish. But they got loads of characters and the one thing I want to say this too, the one thing I just don't like is how they just settle and they just go with the same thing over and over and over. It's like deja vu over and over again. We don't know what's going to happen with this game. We just constantly left in the dark and playing this guessing game where we don't even know what's going on. This is how the game loses momentum. People forget about the game, they abandon it, they play a different game, and then the momentum just goes down. The momentum is affected, and that's why I was saying this last time. Is 3 key points that affects these titles. It's the communication, it's the marketing and advertisement. There's nothing being marketed about this game, and they're not talking enough about their game. They're just coming out and speaking up when something is new and when a new update is out. We don't know what's getting addressed. We don't know what's on the way. We gotta keep on waiting. That's gonna hurt the product. It's not gonna grow, and people are just gonna drop it right then and there, especially when it's the same shows getting represented. We gotta get new shows, and this is a title that can definitely bring everybody back. I'm not sure if they're gonna go this route because there's no announcements, but this is my whole what if scenario. If what it can look like, something bigger and better where you don't have to start over. It might not be as big. It can be a little bit, maybe 50 characters or something like that base roster, but you can have some of the characters I just named, over 70 characters through this today. For tonight, we basically have a giant roster of characters that we can just continue to bring out so much more, and it can have a future to be able to build upon. Even if it's 50 characters base roster, those other characters can, and those other shows can get in later on, where you come out with another wave. Another wave can have just 4 different shows, and then the next way another 4 new shows, and then you can add in an additional rep for some of those shows that don't have enough characters represented. Iconic villains and more. This is the game we need. This is a game that will definitely flourish, it'll benefit the developers, it's gonna grow, and it's gonna have a lot of different content with all the characters that people want to see. Even if some of those characters take a little bit longer to get access to, you can already just go look for another show that you already will have an easier time to get to occupy the players, and they will definitely give those characters a shot. And when you communicate, it helps benefit the product. So I'm not sure what's going to happen, but this is just something that I wanted to put together for a roster that could be stacked with a great game and a lot of stuff with some of these characters. All the missing characters are back, and then some. This is bigger and better for them to create some kind of product like this. This could be something what could possibly happen for Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 if they actually put in and keep pushing forward and show the enthusiasm and the interest of the game and market it properly. It'll probably be able to get back. It'll probably be able to make a comeback. It's not even a year old yet, so we still got a chance. But this is just a whole what if scenario of what it could possibly look like if they do a third game, bring everybody back and more, and don't come out with another game. You keep building on what you have. So y'all can chime in and share your thoughts on the roster if you want. Change out some characters and swap them. Critique it if you want. If you want to make some different changes and some of the characters that you'll probably swap out, they can get everybody that they possibly can in. Maybe this next title is probably just what we need to get some of these characters in. But I want to see more for these games. It definitely deserves more. It has untapped potential, but it sucks that they're not trying to unlock the potential to let it grow and flourish. It's just nothing being said. It's not enough being said, and it's not enough being done to get this game off the ground to try to keep people engaged.